Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the TikTok books that live up to the hype. Alright, because you don't want to waste your time watching all these TikToks and get spoilers and then go and read it and it sucks. So I'm here to save your time and just tell you which books are worth the hype. Make the hype actually legit, you know? And I've also put aside a couple that I'll talk about at the end that I found were not worth the hype just for fun. So stick around for that as well. But let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first book that was going around TikTok like crazy, I feel like about a year ago, was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And this book is totally worth the hype. I will admit that it is quite slow at the beginning, but when you get past the slow beginning and you get into the depth and like the good juice of the story, it is so exciting to read. And if you are really into kind of like poetry, you know, a little bit more play on words, she is a great author for that. There's just so much depth into the discussion on the character's meaning for life and purpose, and some of their deep discussions on their mental health in here. So it's just really worth the hype. And the ending in here is just so good. And I know that's what people talk about a lot when they're talking about TikTok, is the ending and the twist, and it's worth it. Trust me, the slowness of this book is worth it for the ending. And I feel like it's just gotten so much hype because like when you get a good ending in a book, you want to like talk about it right away. So like everyone's jumping on TikTok to talk about it and not really letting themselves have enough time to absorb it and be like, okay, like it was a great ending, but did I actually enjoy the entire book? And after sitting on this for about 6 months now, I can say it's still worth the hype. So would recommend. Basically, to give you a very short idea on what this is about, never pray to the gods and never make a deal with the devil. And that's all you need to know. The next one I have is A Court of Rose and Thorns by Sarah J. Maas. If you're not already into a bunch of Sarah J. Maas's books, get into them because her fantasy mixed with a little bit of romance is here to stay. And she develops characters like nobody else. And if you're looking for a good intro to her, this one is where it's at. I just love it. I've never had an author be able to switch my POV on a love interest, and that's all I'll give you. You will be thrown into a fae fantasy mystery where there's a power dynamic that is brewing, and the main character is mortal and she's trying to play along. And that's all you need to know. I feel like it'll be fun if I just give like the shortest descriptions of these books like you would see on TikTok, because I'm sure you've heard all about the books already, and I'm just here to tell you if it's worth the hype or not. So all right, on to the next one, and I'm sure you all have heard of this one, and it also does have a lot of good reviews and bad reviews, so tell and have with that what you will. But I think it's worth the hype, and that is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I love all of Colleen Hoover's books for the most part. There's a couple I hate, but the ones that are hyped are worth the hype, and Ugly Love is definitely one of those. Now, it has its ups and downs for reviews because some people feel like the main character is not really giving herself enough power. She's basically allowing this awful relationship, in a sense, to continue. But that kind of makes it fun to read, and you definitely get into it. So to give you a quick sum up of Ugly Love, think pilot meets girl moving into a new town, meets romance, meets mysterious guy who won't tell you the truth about his background, yet you're entrapped by his love and you get confused whether or not he's, you know, a good guy or a bad guy. There you go. I'm just trying to like ring through this. This is fun. I'm having fun with this. The next book is Beach Reads by Emily Henry, and yes, she has a bunch of books that are really hyped, but in my opinion, Beach Reads is the one worth the hype the most. Because basically, if you love reading about people who love reading books, you'll like this. If you love that beachy feel, like I love when an author like throws me at a beach house and I'm just like stuck there on the beach with them, like feeling the summer vibes. I love that. There you go. And it gives you, it gives me, at least when I read this and I think about this book, do you remember that Taylor Swift song when she's like holding up a sign and the neighbor is like also holding up a response, and she's like the geeky one and he's like the cool guy, and she's like, they're best friends though, and they're holding up signs telling each other things? Neighbors, book lovers, and unexpected romance. I mean, how can you go wrong? Am I right? Am I right? Here's another Colleen Hoover. It ends with us, and obviously you've heard of this. If you have been under a rock with book Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, then you maybe not have heard of this, but if you have been anywhere on the scene of book, Instagram, YouTube, then you've heard of this book, and it's worth the hype. It will make you cry, okay? It will tear you apart, and it is heavy. This is a heavy one, so read the trigger warnings before you read it. But I will say it will definitely tear your heartstrings apart and go into depth about how to absorb relationships that can be a little bit difficult. And also her neighbor, it's like childhood romance to lovers while also throwing you realisticness of like how some relationships don't pan out or pan out, and it just is. He's always meant to be for you, but it's just not the right time, and you have to go through your own personal items to be able to get there. Okay, last but not least on this quick TikTok books you must read is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And yes, this book is worth the hype. I thought it was really cute, and again, thrown into a cottage, your neighbor is now your new love interest, and you're having a summer fling there. And then, you know, life takes a turn, you get older, changes happen, and you get drawn apart. But then, don't worry, she gives you another POV here. So it's the present and the past, and now they're reconnecting like 15 years later and trying to figure out, and we're as readers trying to figure out what tore them apart and why they won't just rekindle their clear love for each other. So summer, neighbors to lovers, bam, beauty. It's a beauty, and the twist is good. I will say it goes a little too far for my liking, and I do prefer Every Summer After, which is extremely similar, and I know it came after this, so like, is it kind of ripping off the other? I don't want to get there, but I do prefer Every Summer After to that one. But you know, that one's more on TikTok and more beloved, so maybe start with that one. And lastly, I did want to just touch on one book from TikTok that I don't particularly think is worth the hype, and I see it everywhere, and I just want to clear the air a little bit. And that is Normal People. Okay, hear me out. Normal People is a great contemporary read in the sense that nothing happens. Nothing happens in this book. Was I hoping there would be like a cute ending where, you know, they would actually end up together? Yeah. Did that happen? No. The entire book was us reading about two very sadly depressed teenagers for very clear reasons, and we get no relief. We're just reading about their sad stories and lives the entire book with no relief. and it's exhausting. I felt so exhausted after reading this, and I get that some people feel really relatable to this novel, but I almost think that's a negative thing. Like, there's no relief to how these characters are feeling, and if you can relate to this book and not feel any hope at the end, like, I don't think that's a good idea in book to gravitate to, like, to go to. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't think this is worth the hype. Nothing happens. It's very depressing, and there's no relief, which not every book needs to have relief, but I feel like there needs to be a better discussion and better empathy towards the topics in here if we're gonna discuss them, and I don't think it does a very good job. So that's my very, very blunt review on this, and I don't think you should read it unless you really feel like you're in a good place and it's just something you want to try. But yeah, that's all the TikTok books that I think are worth it. Let me know your favorite TikTok books down below. I'm always looking to add to my TBR, but I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!